Hi Aries, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol and this is going to be a general reading for you, and there's no date on this reading because I trust that when it comes into your feed it's meant for you. And so Aries, if you are new to my channel is about 2 years old, so it's fairly young. And I would love you to subscribe or comment below if, let me know if you're new. Let me know if the reading resonated or didn't resonate with you. I would appreciate it very much. Or if you like the video, give it a like. In today's reading, we're going to be doing the blind spot. So in order to begin the reading, I have selected a card for you before I came on from Teal Swan's Oracle cards, blind spot Oracle cards. And these cards are interesting because they have a sigil on them. It's not a symbol, however, it is, and it doesn't represent like a subject or a theme, but what it does is it helps us become aware of your blind spot. And so it's like it has, she says it has like a magical power to it that will pull out your blind spot. So this is the first time I've picked this number, and it's number 78. And it's called self-preservation disguised as self-sabotage. So if you've drawn this sigil, you or someone in this situation is actively engaged in self-sabotage. But you, and potentially they, are unaware that the part of you or them that's doing the sabotaging is convinced it's preserving you or them. So it's almost like it's a part of you, well, it is a part of you, that's convincing you that you're saving yourself, like it's self-preservation, but what it is really self-sabotage. So unless you fully understand the perspectives and the motives of this part that is doing the sabotaging, with understanding and compassion, you will stay stuck relative to this situation. So what I'm going to do is, because it's quite long, but I'm going to give you some examples of what she calls self-sabotage. So if you or this other individual is caught up in these, this is where you're, this part of you is convinced that you're doing it for self-preservation when it's really self-sabotage. So here are some examples. When you have something to do, you procrastinate. Or number two, you hold on to addictions like binge eating or drinking. And there's many other addictions, obviously. Number three, you really want this relationship to work, but you keep pushing the other person away or doing it and saying things to create conflict in the relationship. 4, you consciously want a job, but you suddenly say things in the interview that make the boss check you off his list of candidates. Number 5, self-hate. Obviously, self-hate is the exception to the rule, so think again. All right, so if you've drawn this sigil, you are being called to remember that any form of self-sabotage always has any form of self-sabotage always has in common is that one part thinks the answer to a good life and happiness is going left, and another part thinks that it's going left is literally the road to ruin. So you are being split, obviously, right? So this is all about self-sabotage and how you need to see how you are self-sabotaging, because sometimes we need it pointed out to us. A lot of times we know. So let's look at what's going on with this situation for you. I'm going to use the Erenberg Tarot, and I'm going to pick, so I'm going to pick 3 cards from this, and we're going to look at what situation, issue, decision are you facing right now in regards to this self-preservation that's disguised as self-sabotage. Then I'm going to look at what's coming up from your shadow that needs healing, because I mean, whenever we're involved in some situation like this, there's always some healing that needs to be done around it that's sitting in our unconscious, and it's coming up for us to heal. And then finally, we're going to look at what guidance does the tarot have for you. And I will also suggest some videos from my other channel called Carol Cares. And that'll really give you a start to where you need to go in regards to this self-sabotage. So let's start off with asking the tarot now, one for what situation, issue, decision. One card for that, please, for Aries. You have the Three of Pentacles. What's coming up from shadow that needs healing? What's coming up from Aries shadow that needs healing? One card for that, please. Almost. Three of Swords. Which tells me, I mean, Three of Swords is all about your pain, right? And this is your shadow right here in the second part. So, I mean, anytime we're facing a lot of pain coming up for healing is usually when our addictions come out, right? And or anything else that we use to self-sabotage. And so the guidance from the tarot is the Ten of Swords right here. All right, so it's hard when that Three of Swords comes out because it's just a lot of pain there. It wouldn't come out if it didn't want to say that. Three of Pentacles, a couple cards for that. Tell me more about the Three of Pentacles. Got one there. Two. So you have the first major arcana card on the table is the High Priestess in reverse and the Nine of Pentacles. So remember that the major arcana cards are really important in a reading. And so I really like to look at them and kind of see where this is really going. Because that's where your big universal energies are going to come in. Your Three of Swords, a couple cards for that. Okay, looks like you got two cards here. Yeah, two of them flipped. So you have the Ace of Wands, the Four of Swords, and then the Ace of Pentacles in reverse coming in after it. So two aces for you. And the Ten of Swords, a couple cards for that. Oh, three. Okay. Six of Pentacles. This deck usually does not spit out three cards when I ask for one. Queen of Pentacles and the Six of Wands. But needed to say something. All right. So you have one major arcana card on this table. And the fact that you only have one tells me that there needs to be a big emphasis placed on the High Priestess. And that's the only major arcana card coming out here. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the High Priestess when we get to it. But so let's look at right now the situation, issue, decision that you're facing right now in regards to self-sabotage. You have the Three of Pentacles right here. And the Three of Pentacles, first of all, the number 3 is really important because it talks about co-creation. And when I say co-creation, I mean that it talks about you, Aries, working with someone else, right? It could be anything, when you get to a point where maybe you've hit the wall or you thought, okay, maybe I need some help. Or you're working on a project, oh, I can't do this by myself, I need some help. And so this is a channel about doing inner work. It's a channel about our healing. And so throughout our own healing journey, we're probably going to seek out someone for help. And I think this is what this card is in an upright position for me, the Three of Pentacles. It's like, okay, I think it's time now for you to, I think maybe you know that you probably need some help around the situation that we're looking at right here. I haven't completely figured it out what you're in here. Maybe you have a decision to make about something. This could be a decision. There's something coming up for you right now, and I kind of feel like it might be a decision, certain issue that you're facing because of the High Priestess coming out here. But you have decided that for some reason that you don't want help. Maybe you don't want to get therapy. Maybe you've had, if it is therapy, maybe you've had it before and you've decided, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I've had enough. But whatever it is, I think you're doing this alone. You're feeling like maybe you've convinced yourself that you can do this alone, right? Maybe you think I can handle this on my own. And so, yeah, I think you're alone in this. And but the Three of Pentacles comes out to say, you know, maybe it's time to not be alone anymore. But this is just the beginning here. So then the High Priestess comes out next, and that's the most important card here. It's the only major arcane on the table. And the High Priestess it's in reverse here because I don't think, you know, there's a real resistance to you. Well, first of all, let's talk about the High Priestess, and then I'll say what I want to say about it. So in an upright position, the High Priestess is, you know, there's this veil behind this, the High Priestess. And this is like a feminine figure here. So this is a card that speaks about a feminine quality. It has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with the two sides that we have, which are masculine and feminine. And, you know, we try to bring those two into balance. But the feminine side to us has been repressed over the years. And in particular, one of the qualities that has been repressed is our intuitive side. Intuition is something that we all have. And the thing is about intuition is that we really, really need to be in our bodies. We need to be embodied, which means we can't be up in our head. We can't be directing things by our mind anymore, because intuition speaks about that gut, our gut feeling, the gut knowing, right? To be in touch with your intuition means you're in your body and you can sense things in your gut and you trust your gut, right? You can't trust your mind. It can lead you astray. And so I'm wondering here if it's your mind that's shut down and has said, no more. And your mind, when I talk about your mind, I'm talking about your ego self has said, no more therapy, no more, like, we're done, right? We're doing this alone. But, you know, and so that's why, because I think you're so much in your head around the situation, this issue, maybe it's a decision you have to make, you're not in touch with your intuition. You're not in touch with that feminine quality, that intuitive self, your gut knowing, your inner knowing. You're not in touch with that. And that's important because that's what's going to help you. And then you have the Nine of Pentacles in here. And the Nine of Pentacles speaks about this individual that has really worked passionately, has put a lot of effort into something. And I'm seeing here that maybe you've put so much effort into making this work, whatever this situation is, or coming to a decision about this. But I'm not sure that you're feeling the or maybe what it is, this card is, it's telling you that maybe you're telling yourself that everything is okay, because this card talks about what comes after you've put so much effort into it. You feel like there's abundance coming to you, right? But I don't see that right now. What I do see is that there's a lot of self-care that's needed on your part. And this card is saying, you know, are you taking care of yourself? Is there self-care here? I need to choose one. I need to get one more card here because I'm not quite... for this self-care, this Nine of Pentacles, can you tell me one more card? Give me a bit more information. On the Nine of Pentacles. One more card. I don't know if it wants to speak. It's like, I think this... Oh, there it is, right there. Oh, okay, that explains it. Yeah, you have the King of Swords coming out. So, it's very important because I talked about the masculine side and the feminine side and how your intuition is it's blocked right now. That gut knowing. Well, the King comes out, and the King is the masculine side of us. It's our ego. It's our ego self. And he has that sword of authenticity in his hand. That's what the single sword means, is that your authenticity, your truth, and who you really are. Your ego self wants nothing to do with your authenticity. It wants status quo. You see, because to become authentic, and especially it wants nothing to do with the feminine intuitive skill here that's coming out. It wants you to stay up in your mind, right? And I think this is what's happening, is this is just a card to say that how much you are up in your head, telling yourself right now that it's almost like I hear the word stubborn, right? And I think you've convinced yourself that self-care means, right, I don't need any more therapy. That's the self-care I've given myself. I don't need help. I'm fine on my own. I can do this myself. But that's your ego self that's coming in and saying that. I can do this myself. I don't need any help. But you see where you are saying this? This is when you're up in your head saying that, and that's your ego self. But there's not one part of that that's coming from your intuition, your true self. So I think that's where you are right now, very much up in your head, stubborn about something. And that in itself can be very self-sabotaging when we can be like that and we think that we don't need any outside help, right? So I want to look at a shadow right now, because that's what's going to tell me, okay, where does this come from? Where does this come from that you've shut down? You're going into your body. You've totally forgotten about your body. That's where your intuition is, right? That's where your inner gut knowing is. Because like I said, that's the most important card here. It's the only major arcana card that we're trying to get to. And so where have you shut down? Because if we've shut down and we're in our heads, this means we don't want to look at anything that has to do with emotions. Nothing to do with emotions. And maybe that's why you don't want to touch therapy. And the first card that comes out in your shadow is when you were younger is this card of this Three of Swords. And I mean, there's you as a child. There's you. It's almost like you're wanting to cry when you're a child, but all you could do was put out one tear. Maybe that's all you were allowed to put out, right? But there's some real pain that's coming up from childhood for you. And we're going to see if we can look at what this pain is. But because the first card I'm getting right after that is the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands is like, it's an offer. It's a gift from the universe. It's like when you were younger, you knew what direction you wanted to go into. You had, at about 4, 5, 6 years old, you were very much in your body. We're all very grounded. When you were younger, you knew what you came here for. And that got buried. It's like there was something here where you knew who you wanted to be. you knew what you wanted to do, and something happened where it was detoured. There was a detour that happened where you weren't allowed to do that. The Four of Swords comes in next, right in between two aces. So you have first the Ace of Wands and then the Ace of Pentacles. And the Four of Swords talks about, normally it talks about, if it's not in the shadow, it's a card about getting really still, really quiet, right? And that's the times when we can really get into our body and get in touch with our intuition. You're having a lot of difficulties getting in touch with your intuition right now, that gut feeling, and you did when you were younger. So I want to say that there was a lot that went on in your childhood. I don't think you had the opportunity to have still, quiet moments. You could come from a childhood of, well, that's very traumatic, very chaotic. It could be from, having lots of kids, and maybe there was a lot going on in your house, whether it's lots of kids, lots of different things happening, whatever it was. There wasn't a lot of quiet for you to get in touch with you. And I think that's where you lost sense of where you were going or what you were supposed to do. Or even being able to do that. Being able to have the chance to explore things to do. To try new things, try new experiences. And then you have the Ace of Pentacles. And that's in reverse because that was blocked when you were younger. And the Pentacle is your body. And so the offer for you when you were younger to get into your body and to feel what it was like to be in your body as a child, you learned at a very young age that wasn't a safe thing to do. And when we're younger, when we have such a chaotic, a traumatic childhood, we learn very early that our body is not a safe place for us to be, because that's where we feel all our emotions are in our body. And so if you have these big emotions, this painful childhood that there's a lot of emotions attached to it, like big emotions like grief, sadness, anger, shame, well, you're too young to feel those. And so you learn at a very young age to go up in your head and to stay there. And so I think this explains a lot to me now of why you've got this sword, this king right here. Your ego self saying, don't you dare go back to who you are, right? Get to the truth of any of this. Don't you dare go and get help from anybody else to find out what's this all about, or to get in touch with your intuition. What you have, no, you're not in touch with it because you're not in your body. And that's the first thing I'm going to say. You're not in your body. You learned at a very young age to not be in your body. And so as an adult, that's just a dangerous thing for you to be in your body. And you've convinced yourself, and your ego self has told you your body is not a safe place to be. So stay up in your head. I hope you understood that, what I've been saying about that, because it's very important to understand how our ego self can continue to convince us. And that's where the self-preservation comes in. Because our ego self, one thing we might not know about our ego self is that it's a very, very scared part, and its main concern is to keep you safe. And it did that when you were younger. It kept you safe when you were younger by keeping you up in your head, because you couldn't feel those emotions. You were just too young to feel them. So it keeps you safe. But the problem with our ego self is that it thinks that we're still in childhood, and we're not anymore. You're an adult. You can handle these emotions that are coming up for you right now, because these emotions that are coming up for you right now, this pain that you're in right now, is the pain that this younger part of you couldn't feel. And it was your ego self when you were younger. So, well, we're going up in our head. We're blocking all this, right? We're taking you out of your body. And so what guidance does the tarot have for you right now? Well, a Ten of Swords comes up here. And I think the first thing you have to realize about the Ten of Swords, well, all these swords right here, right? I talked about the one sword being your truth or your authenticity. But these swords, many of them together are mental energy. And if you think about your truth and what it's formed by, well, it's formed by all these things that people told you when you were younger. And, well, you've got to the end of the pip cards, the 10, right? And so the universe is saying, okay, enough of being up in your head, enough of believing what these people told you when you were younger. And it's now time for you. It's now time for you, because Ten of Swords is like, this is it. It's done. We've got to turn the page on this. And so the Six of Pentacles is the next card that comes out for you. And I think this is a real card that wants to bring balance to the situation, right? We have this balance right here. And Pentacles is about being in our body. Pentacles is the earth element. It's the grounding element. And I think for a long time, you know, you need to realize, because this card number 6 talks about, this one in particular talks about this whole thing of giving and receiving, right? There's two sets of people here. There's these two beggars that are receiving, and this individual is giving. And throughout your life, I'm going to say, Aries, that you've had the chance to be in both of these situations. And so in what situation are you in right now where maybe this is lopsided for you? Are you in a situation where you're giving and giving and giving? And so if that's true, if you're always giving, you're not going to be able to receive. You're not going to know what it's like to receive. And if you're always taking and taking and taking, you're not going to know what it's like to give. And so where is it in this giving and receiving where are you putting not enough energy? Where are you putting too much energy? And I really think that it's time for you, Aries, to put more energy into yourself, I want to say, because you have the Nine of Pentacles, which talked about self-care above. And then you get this next card is the feminine side, and you get the Queen. And no surprise that she's the Queen of Pentacles. You know how I talked about the High Priestess and how that's our feminine side, and she represents the beautiful feminine quality of intuition. This is also the feminine side. And so our king is our ego self, and she represents the feminine side as well. She has the pentacle. She has the body. This is the part of you, the queen. It's the part of this particular queen is always in her body. She's embodied. She makes all her decisions through her body, through her emotions. She's very, very much intuitive as well. But for her, look how much she honors her body, right? She cherishes it. She knows how important it is. And so I think here the message for you is, it's now time for you to recognize and honor and respect and take care of your body. You know, what is it that needs taking care of right now? Because if we're up in our heads, we've forgotten about this below our neck. Like, what is it here? And I think you've forgotten about that part of you. And a lot of people have. And then the Six of Wands comes out as a final card here. You know, the wands are about our purpose, our creative purpose. We all came here to do something. We already talked about how when you were younger, this Ace of Wands, you knew what you came here to do. You knew why you came here on this earth. Well, guess what? This is the card that wants to take you there. This is the card that's it's a victory card. It's like, look how far you've come. You know, celebrate yourself now. I think you haven't given enough attention, self-care to yourself. we can be so hard on ourselves and be up in our heads and tell ourselves all these horrible things when we were younger. Because maybe these things we keep telling ourselves are the things that we were told when we were younger. Maybe you were told when you were younger, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah. And even like when you know, the Ace of Pentacles is buried. And so just not having that opportunity to be you. And so there's a real call for you to get back in your body, to learn how to ground yourself. And so I'm going to leave you with a playlist on grounding where I teach you. I did them a few years ago, but they're really good videos because they teach you how to ground yourself and get back into your body. Because I think it's time now that you start giving to you. And so I want you to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. This inner work journey is the most difficult journey of our life, but it's the most important one. So take care, Aries, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.